Hello friends, welcome to a new vlog. In today's vlog, I am going to be, sorry, you were sitting on top of the ruler, so you were uneven. In today's vlog, I am going to be doing the mock-up and likely modifications to the bodice portion of what will be my Regency Historybounding dress. I just finished the stays, so now I can fit bodice. The skirt doesn't need to be fitted because it's just going to be a rectangle that's gathered into whatever size the waist is, because the waist on a Regency dress is effectively your underbust. I am going to take a look at the pattern and cut out the requisite pieces and start trying to make some decisions. This is my pattern. I'm obviously gonna do this hoopty without this. So we've got the 3/4 sleeve and the bodice and the Regency Empire waist. I know this is a round gown. I know this is 1790s, not 1813, but I also don't care. I have approximately 5 yards of this. So I'm gonna get my pieces, I'm gonna trace them because I'm not sure if this size is gonna work, and then I can modify the pattern paper or the tracing instead of the pattern. Also, this tissue paper is a pain to work with. So that's what we're gonna do right now. I just found the sleeve pieces. It's the first piece that I unfolded. This is completely not what I was expecting. That's the sleeve. This is the top of the sleeve. This is the side seam. This is the elbow dart, I think. I haven't read it yet, but I'm pretty sure that gets sewn together, and that's how you do this. I need this one, but I'm going to take a measurement because I have Hulk arms, and I'm going to make sure that I am using the correct sleeve. But this situation is very odd. I opened this and I was like, what the F is this piece? And then I saw that it was the sleeve. Yeah, very odd. What has just happened is I have found the skirt back piece, and for the piece, the back piece is the same for this as it is for this, except on this one there's a train that's attached, and for this it's just a big old rectangle. So I just took note of the measurements of the rectangle because I'm going to be changing the length of the dress anyway. So I am actually just going to use the width and wing it. And then what I can do is just do whatever the width of the fabric is by however long I want the skirt to be, so that I have selvage edges on the inside of the skirt and I don't have to worry about finishing them. I have acquired all of my necessary pattern pieces. Now I'm going to cut them out a little bit more. You can see they're just kind of roughly cut. This one's probably fine. Then I am going to, like, this one's got a little bit of excess that I'm going to try to snip off. I'm going to do this with all of them so they all kind of look like this, and then I'm going to trace out the size 18 and all of the markings, and then I am going to do the mock-up. I have all the bodice pieces transferred to paper and roughly cut out. The only piece I haven't traced out is the sleeve piece, and that is for two reasons. Number one, if the bodice doesn't fit and I have to modify that, I'm going to have to modify the sleeve anyway. The other reason is because the sleeve piece is a lot bigger than the light board that I'm using, and so I would rather wait and just use the window. So that is the plan. That's what I'm going to do tomorrow. Cut out the mock-up fabric for the bodice, and then I will fit that make any adjustments that I think I need to make. Move on to sleeves. So once I have the bodice fitting the way I want it, then I'll do the sleeve mock-up. And yeah, that's what I'm gonna do. That's the plan. Good night, guys.
It's spring break! Yay! We were both off this week, and Zach just took Emma to school, and I was going to show you what I'm doing. We're in the living room, but
I didn't realize that's what you were doing. Okay.
this is what I'm doing, and I apologize for the lighting being garbage. There's a reason for it. The windows in the office are not big enough to trace out this piece. So I have it set up where I've got the pattern piece taped to the window, and then I taped my pattern paper over that. And since it is light out right now, and the weather has been real questionable lately, I'm just gonna go ahead and do this now while I have light. Also, it gives me an opportunity to drink my tea and procrastinate digging through my stash of scrap fabric to find stuff to do the mock-up. But that is next on the list.
I have unearthed some mock-up fabric. I have all of my pieces, and now I am trying to figure out how to fit them while following the grain line that's marked on the pattern. Because even though this is a mock-up, I feel like the grain line's probably important. So we're going to try to follow it as much as possible. It may not happen for all pieces, because like this is a skirt mock-up. I'm going to use this fabric, but I don't know that I'm going to be able to do everything 100% correctly on the grain line. But I also have unused mock-up fabric over here, because I have a feeling that that's probably going to be a thing that needs to get cut into. Alright, here we go. So I'm transferring these pattern pieces, and I'm looking at this, which is the front of the lining. And I'm looking at it, and I'm looking at it. This is the center front opening, right? And that's without seam allowance. I think we're gonna need to do a full bust adjustment. I'm gonna make the mock-up. I'm gonna keep going just to be sure, but I'm pretty sure. So I'm trying to sort through the instructions because now I have all of my pieces cut out and marked. And I'm on step 9 is when we finally get to the lining of the bodice, which is what I actually need to be doing right now. Because otherwise it's like, deal with the front panel of the skirt and deal with the outer part of the top part of the dress. And so at the under bust and the top bust portion, it closes with a drawstring on the front, and that's all the like outer gauzy fabric, and that's cool. But it looks like it closes with the eyelets underneath. And here's my thing. I think this is too small for me and anyone who's not like a B cup. So yeah, I am going to move on to skip all of that jazz because I'm not mocking up the skirt. It's just a giant gathered rectangle. It's gonna fit. It's not fitted anywhere except here. Like, that's it. So yeah, on to step 9 and sewing things together. Oh my. I was ironing and I looked up and...
Hi. I'm doing stuff.
Yay! Mockup is assembled, and as expected, my underbust is here, and this stops here. So we need, like, I'll measure it, but like enough for seam allowance in this direction, enough for seam allowance and coverage. And it probably would fit fine over the stays. But I do also, like, I'm going to try the stays on and then try this on again. But I do want this to fit with a regular modern bra because I want this to be history bounding. So we're looking at like an inch plus seam allowance. I'm going to try it on with the stays and see if I can get away with that. But then also it probably needs to come up about an inch. So down this way and up this way, and I'll just take some out here. Make those adjustments. I'm just gonna slope the curve a little bit higher here, especially since this also gets, even if it is a narrow hem, and this definitely needs to come down. So I'm gonna try on the stays, or put on the stays, and then try this on. It seems to be fitting well everywhere else. What I can do now is do the sleeve mock-up to make sure that I still have my range of movement. This seems far off the shoulder. It seems like this might be a little tight, but I don't know if that's because I'm wearing a t-shirt. It's tight, like specifically right here. I don't know. I'll attach the sleeves and see what it feels like, because yeah. All right, so as expected, this fits beautifully in the Regency stays. So I think I might just leave it and just wear the stays, like not extend the underbust, because even with, like, I've got space for seam allowance here. However, the trade-off for that is even my stays come up like 3 fingers higher, and probably the drawstring bit should come up to like right about the top of the stays ish, maybe a little bit higher. This probably needs to come up another 2 fingers, so we can just adjust this curve here. I might just make this come up to the top of the stays, and then the other part come up another, I don't know, I'll measure it. But I actually have, like, this fits better in the stays. Shocking, wearing the correct undergarments makes a difference. But yeah, so that's where we are. I'm gonna adjust I have to figure out what's going on here, because it's like a weird collar. I don't know if it's supposed to be like that. I don't know. But But I think I'm just gonna leave this days on. Zach is hammering. I think I'm gonna leave this days on under my t-shirt. Yes, I'm not wearing a shift. Also, I'm gonna show you this, hang on. They're laced all the way closed. And in order to take them in, I'm gonna have to undo the binding to take them in at the side seam. It's fine that they lace all the way closed in the back for now, but hopefully my ribcage doesn't get any smaller. But I'm just gonna pop my t-shirt on over this and keep using this to do fittings. Cause yeah, and it's also, if you remember, lined with linen. It's 100% machine washable. I've made it that way on purpose so that I can wear it this way. I'm gonna just throw my shirt on and make the sleeves. It was 80 degrees yesterday. We just got a frost advisory.
Welcome to North Carolina.
Mind you, it's March 29th. So, here's where we are with the sleeve. The sleeve fits well. It went in fairly easily. I think you can't see it at all. I think I'm gonna make the sleeve, I think I'm gonna actually cut the sleeve off and have it be this length rather than making it be 3/4 length, because then I don't have to deal with this weird elbow dart situation. This is the shorten or lengthen here line. I'm gonna cut it like an inch lower than that and put the hem here. I think that'll give it a good length and I don't have to, I have good range of motion. I think the back doesn't fit properly. I am going to redraw these pieces. We're gonna come up. This is 2 inches plus seam allowance. And I've marked where my underbust is here. I'm gonna do a measure of like across my full bust where I would look from probably the bottom of my underpinnings. I actually want to extend this so that the bottom of this actually hits the bottom of the stays, maybe. This is super comfortable, just like this. So I'm gonna attempt to do that now. So with the adjustment, you can see, ow, I just stepped myself with the pin. It fits pretty nicely. I know the back isn't sewn perfectly, but the front fits great. I mean, I've got enough space here for seam allowance for the skirt. I did the hem on here and that looks fine, because then I'm gonna make sure that the other one comes up a little bit above that, and then this all gets tucked away. I might have to take some out here around the neckline, but this looks good. The darts still look good. But yeah, I am gonna try to get a look at the back of this and see what it looks like. Actually, here. Alright, now to unpick this and save this as the new pattern piece and do the same thing to the top one. At this point, it is 2:15, and I have finished all of the mock-up modifications that I'm gonna make, and I'm ready to start cutting out the actual fabric. So I shortened the sleeve to the cut line. I'm gonna use this as my pattern piece. I'm gonna give it a good press, obviously, because ooh, it's wrinkly. I'm gonna do the same thing with the the lining piece of the bodice that I made the modifications to. I'm just gonna use this as my pattern piece, and I'm gonna do the same thing. I just made modifications onto fabric from that paper pattern piece rather than tracing more of that, and I just added like 1.5 inches to this, because then at the narrowest part down here, that makes it wide enough to cover the lining here, but also it's sloped slightly, so at the narrowest part here it will still cover even with the hem, but then this will all be gathered up, so it will cover because this slopes upward. I don't know if you can see that. There's a slight slope there. So it should all the way up cover the widest part of the lining. And I'm probably gonna cut it with just like a scoosh extra, just in case. So that it definitely, for sure covers everything. This is the lining, and this is the center front of the lining. And you can see like this should cover it. And then this gathers in, and then this ends up matching up here because these straps are the same. This is where the lining is, that impression there. Even with the hem, this is going to cover it. It's not going to cover it by a lot, but it's going to cover it. And then this is all going to be gathered down like this and be nice and floofy. And I like my little note to myself that this is pattern piece 1 plus boobs, because full bust adjustment, you're adding boobs. So I'm going to iron these and iron my for real fabric and get started. So I will probably do that, but I might need to wait because there's a situation happening with Zach's things. Might need to wait until he relocates his desk because I need table space to cut those skirt pieces. I can cut the lining pieces of the fabric, right? I have to figure out how long I want the skirt anyway. I definitely don't want it full length. I want it 52 inches wide by 45 inches long. Okay, I'm gonna have to go measure and figure that out. But I think the mock-up process, this should be the end of this video. If you liked this video and you want to see what I make out of this dress pattern plus boobs, subscribe and stay tuned for our next video next week, and future videos where you will see the result of Zach's chaos and the furniture that he's in the office building. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss anything from us. Leave a comment down below and let me know what is the weirdest modification you have ever had to make to a garment, or a thing that you were making. And stay tuned next week for the dress that I make with the pattern plus boobs. Have a good week, guys.